Hello! Today I am talking about what I'm reading right now and what I've recently read and what I might read next for December 2020, which makes this the last mid-month check-in for the year of our Lord 2020. You know, I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all. I'm not completely confident 2021 is gonna be like all that much better than 2020, but I think that we're all excited to at least like turn the page on this year. I definitely am. So this is my last check-in with you guys for this interesting year. In December, I have just been doing a lot of mood reading for the most part, some Christmas-y kind of reading, and a lot of my energy in this month goes into all of my end of the year lists. So, you know, I'm just kind of reading what I feel like reading. And apparently a lot of what I felt like reading are graphic novels. So let's start with what I recently read, then we'll talk about what I'm reading right now and what I might read next. So in terms of recent reads, one of the most notable things that I have read is that I just, as in like 10 minutes ago, finished the second of the two Percy Jackson novels that I have been reading this month. And oh my gosh, guys, I love these so much. So these two I think are my favorite in the series so far. I read The Titan's Curse, which I gave 4 stars to, and then I just finished The Battle of the Labyrinth. I think I'm gonna give 4.5 stars to. It's definitely my favorite in the series so far. And I gotta say, like, I think Percy Jackson is better than Harry Potter, like genuinely, just thinking through sort of how it's working book to book, its macro plot. I don't know, I'm gonna think about that. Maybe it's my bias now because I desperately want to find something else to give my heart to the way that I once gave my heart to Harry Potter. But maybe that, I don't know, maybe it's wishful thinking, but I am just like, so enjoying those. So that's a very recent thing I just finished reading. I will talk about that more at the end of the month. Other fantasy things that I've read, well, I've read a crap ton of graphic novels, so we'll say that for just a second. Another fantasy one I finished was The Girl from Shadow Springs by Ellie Cipher. I was very into this. So this is basically, how to describe this? It is a YA fantasy western. I do think that that is a fair characterization. It is set in a very snowy, wintry clime that is like very grim. So I think the comparison here is The Revenant meets True Grit, which I think is a good comparison. But part of what I really enjoyed about this was that wintry setting. I think it's really beautifully evoked. The writing in this, I should say, is very, very nice. And I think that the wintry setting is so well evoked. This comes out in February, and I think if you get a chance to read it in February, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere and it's still winter, I would recommend going ahead and doing that because I think I personally just enjoyed it kind of giving me that cozy, cold vibe. So I thought that was really good. It was an interesting story. I mean, it had a lot of components that we see a lot in YA fantasy in terms of, you know, going on a quest and kind of being a little bit of like a road trippy kind of version of a fantasy plot. It's not really, it's got some elements of like a chosen one type thing, but not quite. It's a little bit of a variant, but I really enjoyed the characters. I particularly enjoyed our main character, Jory, and her just deep love for her sister, Bryn. This is also playing on a sort of Snow Queen type fairy tale, like a kind of a retelling of that. And I don't know, I just really loved all of the different, it had a lot of kind of familiar elements, but the way that they were brought together was a little different than what I've seen before, and I was into it. So overall, this was definitely a really good, like, wintry kind of read. What else? Before we get into my graphic novel palooza, I have been reading Christmassy things. I would say that for the most part, they've not been that memorable. I'm trying to think if any of them are really worth talking about. I did like, I think it was called Christmas Chemistry by Ella Good. If you're into like kind of an alpha hole mind type trope, but both of the main characters are in STEM, so it's sort of like a nerdy kind of trope in there as well. I thought that one was pretty cute, but most of the Christmassy things I've been reading have been pretty just like not memorable. Okay, and then we get to the graphic novels, and I have read almost every graphic novel I had on my TBR, with the exception of one, which I'm gonna put on my TBR for the rest of the month, just so that I can say I've finished them all out in this month. But yeah, it started with, I read the Mueller Report Illustrated from the Washington Post, which was just, it was like, oh my God, this came out this time last year, because last year at this time, really the biggest piece of news we had was the impeachment going on. So honestly, a huge part of my reaction to this was like, oh yeah, so much has happened since then. It's just hard to even remember. But I think this is a fun way if you're wanting to consume what all was in the Mueller report. This is kind of an interesting method by which to do that. So there you go. The other nonfiction graphic novel I read was How to Have Feminist Sex by Flo Perry. And I think that this was really cute. I really like all the illustrations in it. It's a very sex positive, very body positive kind of perspective on human sexuality. And I would recommend this probably as like a good give it to your teen kind of thing. I wasn't really sure kind of who this was aimed at. I think I would give this to somebody in their like teens and early 20s. I appreciated sort of the overall messaging of this, and I feel like this is a force for good in the world, pretty much. Then I had 3 fiction ones. So first of all, The Banks by Roxane Gay. I think the illustrator was Ming Doyle. This is a heist story, ostensibly. It's really more of an intergenerational family drama, and there's definitely some interesting things in this. I don't know if I would continue in the series because there's not as much heisting happening as I would thought that there might be. Basically, it's 3 generations of lady bank robbers. I think that this has some interesting things to say about race and about, honestly, like sexual harassment in the workplace. But anyway, this was like good, but I would say not great. And I don't know if I would continue. It has promise, but I'm not sure that it really reached its promise in this particular bind up. Similarly, something that I was not as into as I'd hoped I would be was The Wicked and the Divine. The Faust Act is this first one. The idea of this I really like. Something I've realized this year is I'm very into the whole like the gods walking among us kind of thing. I just think it's fun. I tend to like this kinds of stories that come out of that. But this version of it, I don't know was my favorite. This felt like more of a screenplay than a graphic novel or a bookish form of a story. I think that I would watch the hell out of an adaptation of this, but I just don't think that the book or the graphic novel itself totally worked for me. I think that there just wasn't enough kind of depth to it for it to work in this format. I think it would work better as a TV show or as a movie. So I liked the art, I think, by the way, is really beautiful. I really liked that. The art was really nice, and I like the idea of this more than I think I like the actual execution of it, basically. So it was fine, but just not like, I wouldn't continue in the series, and just wasn't my favorite. And then I also read the latest issue of Monstrous. This is called War Child, and oh my gosh, guys, I can't really talk much about this because we're 5 volumes in, but like, what in the holy hell is going on? Like, things are really, I think in the 4th bind up, we found out a lot of like key pieces of information about what is really going on. I think we started seeing some of that pay off in this, but also we kind of went on a side bit that I wasn't expecting, but I really liked. I really liked how Kippa was handled in this. I am into whatever's happening with the Baroness. Like, I just think this was just really a really good edition of it. I just enjoy this graphic novel series so much. I would say that as a whole, it is one of my favorite fantasy things going, just because it's the art absolutely gorgeous. Like, this is my favorite art I've ever seen in a graphic novel. It's a weird world. I'm starting to see what's happening, but like there's a lot of purposeful disorientation happening, which I'm into that. And it's just different than anything I've ever read. So I really enjoy the series, and this was definitely a good entry in it. So I think that's everything that I've read that's worth mentioning. In terms of what I'm currently reading, well, I literally just finished Battle of the Labyrinth, so I guess I'm not technically currently reading that. Mangoes and Mistletoe, I started but I haven't finished yet. This is definitely my favorite Christmassy kind of thing I've read so far this month. It's got a grumpy baker and a more chipper counterpart baker, and they are entering in this cooking competition in Scotland, and it's sapphic and really cute and sweet. I like the writing, I like the characters, so I am pretty sure this is going to be one I really like. This is our We Need Diverse Romance pick and our last one for the year, so if you're interested in participating in that, you can check out Discord. But yeah, this one, it's definitely a hit so far. Likewise, also a hit so far is Mad and Bad, Real Heroines of the Regency by B. Koch. This has just been really fun. It's a version of kind of historical nonfiction, examining a lot of the key players who tend to show up in Regency romances. I think kind of correcting and undermining some of the narratives that go along with that, and definitely is fueling the fire. I was originally going to make a historical accuracy just like rant, but I'm writing something, and I don't know how that video is going to go. I'm a little feel a little tender and vulnerable about it because it's going to be something different for me, but I am writing like a full video essay about historical accuracy, and I think this will be a key kind of text in that. So I'm enjoying this. This is sort of my nighttime nonfiction pick right now. And then I guess that kind of leads to where I'm going next, what I might read next. So my next nighttime historical fiction pick is my next nighttime nonfiction pick is going to be The Web of Life by Fritjof Capra, which is a gift that one of my best friends gave to me, and she said she thought that this was the sort of sociological, psychological nonfiction that she thought that I would very much enjoy. So this is next up for nonfiction nonfiction. I have The Demigod Files in Percy Jackson, that short story collection. I have that as an ebook that I just checked out from the library, so that I am definitely gonna get to next. And then I'm on hold for the final book, the final audiobook in that series, and I can't wait because, oh my gosh, it's just so good. So I'm waiting for that. And then I also already have Holopox out from the library. That's my next audiobook pick because I gotta get it back to the library. And that is the third in the Nevermore series from Jessica Townsend. So I'm gonna get started on that probably this afternoon. I am so ahead on arcs, guys. I'm already reading in February, which was The Girl from Shadow Springs. And then the other two that I have on the docket for February for this month is The Project by Courtney Summers, which is YA mystery that is based, like it's a mystery around a cult in upstate New York. So that sounded really dark and twisty and fun. So I'm gonna read that. And then I'm also going to read Quiet in Her Bones by Nalini Singh, which is her latest thriller. And I think it has something to do with like a missing mom from the past. It's set in New Zealand, so we'll find out. We'll find out what happens there. And then I think beyond that, a lot of mood reading is what I have planned for the rest of this month. I have a specific really fun project that I'm gonna do the week of Christmas. I'm not gonna tell you guys about yet, but I'm very excited, and it will be purely mood reading, and I'm very excited for it. So I said excited like 10 times. Can you tell that I'm excited? I am. And then the only other two physical books I pulled that maybe I think I'm gonna try to get to, one is Written in the Stars by Alexandria Belfleur, which is a sapphic rom-com that I've heard wonderful things about, so I'm hoping I can fit this in. And then, as I mentioned, I kind of just wanna read all the graphic novels that are currently in my possession. And the last one I have is another nonfiction one, which is called The Three Escapes of Hannah Arendt. And this is a biography of the 3 times that Hannah Arendt escaped the Third Reich, because she is a bad bitch of history. So there you go. And yeah, I think that's most of what I've read and what I'm gonna read next. Like I said, a lot of my energy this month is going into creating all of the lists like whoa for my end of the year lists. I think I have now filmed them all, and I've almost finished editing them all, so I just gotta finish posting that. And yeah, I think that's about it for me for now. So let me know kind of what you're reading right now, what you're enjoying in the comments below. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below, and I think that will do it. I hope you are having an absolutely lovely day today, and I will just talk to you soon. Bye.